RTI, reflectance transformation imaging, polynomial texture mapping. They're dreadful, dreadful names for what is a really good and simple technique. In this, our subject remains stationary, our camera remains stationary, but we're going to move the light. And this works on an old principle, that if we have some rock art, and some of you will recognise the boat from Weems here, so this is just photographs that are fairly much straight on, and note the snooker ball here, this is all important. Photograph straight on, you cannot really see that. With a raking light from the side, you can see this thing really quite nicely. And with a raking light from the other side, you can see other bits of it again quite nicely, but some bits disappear. So what if we could light it from all sides at the same time? This is the wonder of RTI. So we've got here a bit of stone that we're RTIing here with my glamorous assistants. We've got our snooker ball on a stick, which is a perfect sphere and reflects the direction of the light nicely. We've got a camera on a fixed tripod, and ideally a little remote for it. And we've got a flash gun, and we're going to illuminate that from lots of different angles. So you can see Rachel moving the flash gun around here in this sort of rather dodgy stop motion animation. And here she goes, creating a whole dome of light. Now, I mean, you can do as few or as many of these as you like, but ideally, 6 photos round as a minimum, something like that, and create a kind of a dome of individual photos and lights. We're going to stick all those photographs into our RTI Builder software, which is free and open source, which is a great thing. You can download this off the web. You need to identify where the sphere is, and then the software goes away, chugs away for a bit, and finds the highlights. So where your flash has flashed onto it, which direction the light is coming from. From that, it can create a kind of a composite showing all the areas from which you've lit it. Now, if you do this really well, that will be a beautiful sort of regular dome of light, and if you do it in the real world, it won't. It'll look a bit more like that, but it still works quite nicely. And we export this, and in an RTI viewer, and again, free, open source, and wonderful, we can look at our image here, and then we can move the lights. Now, this is rather low resolution. You can see up here, we get to control the light ourselves, and then we are moving the light. And then we've got a whole different set of filters that you can apply to it as well. You can see here in this very, very kind of brief run through that we've got quite a lot of fine control over the lighting of this quite difficult to see piece of rock art. And we can, from the comfort of your own desk or office, interpret these things at your leisure with quite powerful tools. Advantages, disadvantages of this, well, it's cheap, it's all free, it's all open source. I mean, you need to buy some kit, you need a camera, you need some light, and you can go kind of low end and just do it with a torch and a digital camera, or probably even your phone if you can mount it on a tripod or something. Or you can go kind of high end and have, wireless flash and all the rest of it. It's pretty straightforward to do. It's just a workflow. It takes a little bit of time and effort to do it really well, but it is just a workflow. And we've certainly been teaching people at East Weems how to do this. And it's a teachable and quite fun technique. And it is, as we've seen, it's a really powerful imaging tool. Disadvantages, it's not 3D, it's only 2D. Well, I mean, whether that's advantage or disadvantage is kind of up to you. It's easy to do it badly, and one tiny movement in your camera tripod will end up with ruinous results, certainly. Best results require really good planning and careful camera lighting control. So ideally, you want the person taking the photographs to know what they're doing with the camera and know what they're doing with lighting and how to get the best out of it, and it can be tricky in some lighting conditions. And finally, the one that I'm put on here, it is kind of limited in size, whereas photogrammetry works really nicely with small objects and with big objects. And for instance, Eddie Martin is going to be talking about his drone, thank you, his drone in the surgery this afternoon, and photogrammetry is a thing that works really well on a large landscape scale with aerial photos. RTI is a thing that will only work as long as you can light it from lots of different angles. So realistically, something about as big as a human body, or maybe a bit bigger, 6 foot by 6 foot, anything bigger than that, you're going to struggle. Thank you.